Alright guys, you can see I've got cool wheels and tires on the Beatnik Bandit clone these days. And taillight panels in. I'm back not that long from Detroit, and I bolted the body down with two 5/16 bolts just to be able to transport it to Detroit for the basement show, the extreme show where all the cool kids hang out. So that's what I did. So I traveled the car. That's why I kind of rushed and I bought wheels and tires for it so it would look more like the Beatnik Bandit. And it was in this big model display that a fellow named George McMullen had set up. He's building a clone of the Uncertain T. He's out of Ohio, I believe. And he had these like giant tubes of glue and these giant parched trees that come in model kits and giant box tops and stuff. So it was a pretty cool display. And unfortunately, ever since I got back, it's been raining for weeks here, and anybody that lives in the Midwest knows that walking through your yard after it rains a lot is like walking on a sponge. So it eventually dried out, and I got the Beatnik Bandit back in my shop so I could start doing something on it. And again, unfortunately, as the entire world knows, we have this COVID-19 disease virus thing going around. So, well, I'm staying at home, and I got booted from my job because there was no work, even though I could be considered an essential business working in a body shop. But why take chances, right? And hey, we get to mess around with the Beatnik Bandit all day. We get to paint little rat things and stuff, and paint a flying eyeball on this empty reducer can. So yeah, for a lot of us guys, maybe it's not so bad. Hey, we've been practicing social distancing and isolation for a long time, right? Hanging out in the garage. But anyway, so a lot of places are closed, so I can't go buy a lot of material and stuff that I would need. Luckily, I bought 80 yards of fiberglass and some resin before a lot of places shut down, so I would have it and I can make my surfer helmets and do some other fiberglass work on this and things. So, that all being said, there's not a lot I can do right now. I need round stock to make the Moonstick shifter, which is something I wanted to do. When I was at Detroit, I took a lot of pictures of the real Beatnik Bandit that was there. So, so we're all dealing with it. But let's get back to the important stuff in life. Let's build some cool stuff. So what I figure I'm going to do is I got to get this thing up in the air, and we're going to make some body mounts. Like I said, through some of the plywood, I had just drilled a couple of 5/16 holes, and I only put 2 bolts in to keep the body from bouncing around and sliding back and forth. So I got to take those out. I got my tape measure here. I got to measure, make sure the body is exactly where it's got to be, and all that fun stuff. And then we're going to get the whole car up in the air. And we got to get in there because I can't have anyone come over to help me get the body on and off because of this whole virus BS. So I'm going to try and figure this out by myself, this won't be the first time. And I'll try and make some mounts. I got some scrap steel in back. I got enough stuff to get by. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make some kind of body mounts, I guess. That's what we're doing? Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So let me get things squared away. I'll get this thing jacked up and put in the air. And let's get to work, man. Okay, now I've got a stack of these pictures of, that I took of the genuine Beatnik Bandit. And so I know where all the mounts are that Ed did. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Because when Ed built his body, he had stacked some stuff up and just started with plaster. And he just did completely from plaster. What I did was I already knew the basic design of the car. He didn't when he started. So I laid a piece of plywood across my frame rails and I kind of built up and off of that. So I already have the body sitting right now on that plywood. And it needs some shoring up. There's some parts like the nose and the back, they flex. So I'm making body mounts basically to keep those from bouncing around and flexing. And because it's sitting on the plywood, that's what's keeping the body up now. But we need some points to bolt this thing up so it doesn't move around and everything. So I'm thinking right here, if you can see this rail, there's a tube going across. I'll zoom that camera in. I'm going to put a mount here on this side and one on the other side. Primarily because I can get at it with the body on the chassis right now. And like I said, it's this shelter-in-place, stay-at-home virus thing of 2020. What a way to get the year going, huh? So I can get at it, I can grind in there, and I can get things happening right now. So that's what I'm looking at. I can also get, in the back here, I'll show you when I zoom the camera in, there's a spot where I put a plywood brace in here to keep the back from flexing and doing that. So I want to bolt that to the body back there also, because I do get this bounce you can see there, and I want to take care of that. So that's what I'm going to concentrate on right now, is doing the back of the car. So I'll show you the picture I've got and how Ed did it. Let me try and get this all zoomed in. This is the picture I took of the car, and you can see, oh, wrong hand, right there. That's the one thing. You can see there's like a piece of 2x4 that he fiberglassed to the body, and there's a couple like big lag wood bolts. And you can see that was a piece of scrap steel that he used. So that's how Ed did it. Only one body mount in the middle. Well, I hope I can do my hero justice, and I'm going to over-engineer it. Like I said, there's going to be 4 body mounts, in the back. So I'm going to make a couple of cardboard templates and stuff like that. I'm going to figure this out as I go along, because that's how I do everything. But let me get the camera in here, and I'll show you the tight spaces that we're dealing with. All right, guys, so right here is where I'd like to do something from the body to this piece of pipe that Ed had. He had a 2-inch pipe going straight across like this also. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is maybe to get a flat surface to bolt on, I'll take a piece, if I have it, like C-channel or square stock, and hit it with a 2-inch hole saw so it sits on here nice. Kind of like making an axle pad on a rear axle for your leaf springs or something. And then I'll get a piece of plate that I can put on top of it that a bolt will go through, and then I'll weld something together that'll go to the body that I can laminate in here with fiberglass. So that's what I'd like to do here. Now let me take it to the other side and show you that. All right, so now back here, guys, will be a relatively more simple, is because I just got to go from this wood to the body here. So you can see how this kind of has that bit of flex to it, and I need to get rid of that because that's not good. So there's already like one hole here, but over here where it's flat, there's a nice flat plane area here. If I even just put like a piece of L channel here, and I could just bolt straight through the wood, that would be fine. So that'll be really simplistic, and that's probably what I'll do. Or maybe I'll put a piece of L channel right to this here, and then I'll fiberglass it in. I can fiberglass it from this side and have it come across, and then bolt it in. That'll be just fine, and that'll keep the body from flexing back here the way that it's doing. All right, gang, this is what I've come up with for a bracket. I found some box tubing laying around, so I set this up. I'll give you a little view there, and I cut it with a hole saw. I've got that, I measured about 1.5 inches in front of this radius here, this way, and I should be able to get a tab on the body to sit on top of this and just bolt it together. So I'm hoping this will sit right on here. Hope you can see this, just like that there. I'll try and get a camera to zoom in there and show you. And I'll clean up that pipe, obviously. I'll grind it up and some stuff, and I'll get the spot welded in there, and then we'll continue with this. Let me zoom in and show you. I hope that's better. You can see how that just kind of will sit right on the pipe nice like that, see? And it'll just be just like that, and I'll get that all welded in. Maybe I should Dremel it a little bit, I don't know, but we'll get that to fit nice and snug in there. and I'll buzz a good weld across the top, tack it on the sides, and I'll finish weld it when you know, I get the chassis sandblasted and whatnot. So let me show you how I made one of these. All right, guys, this is the box deal I used, and I made a template that's a half circle. And what I kind of do is I put that right here against the, there's a seam on the edge here. So I put the tip of that right there like this, and then I trace that with a pencil. That's why I've got the sandblasting. A pencil will show up really good, but first things first. I want to measure 1.5 inches forward of that. And that's my line there. And overall, that's going to be 2 3/4 inches. And then from the bottom edge here up to here, I'm just going to cut this on an angle like that. And get this side too. And that's it right there. Let's go cut this with the hole saw. Alright, this is going to be kind of a haphazard setup, but it worked before, so I have no drill. Magically, see that? There's no drill in the hole saw, so I'm just kind of lining this up with the radius I made with the cardboard template. Okay? So I get this lined up to where I like it, and I kind of just lock this down, and I'm going to C-clamp this in place. Actually, let's move this over a little bit more so we can get the C-clamp on it. There we go. And if it doesn't walk around, it'll be okay. And we're going to just very gradually bring the hole saw down on it. And if we need to tap it with a hammer, ta-da! Multi-directional inertia converter. We'll move it around and do what we got to do. That's as far down as my hole saw would go. So we're going to take the cutoff wheel and I'll cut that piece off that's keeping me from going down, and then we can continue further. Now just go on the scrap pile over there. Now let's continue our hole. And that's that. It's always good to keep a couple pieces of scrap wood around. And got my glasses all discombobulated because you can cut right through the steel into the wood and you get a good clean straight through cut. There you go. Not too shabby. Because if I had this in there and then I turn this around, it make the wheel's going to go on this edge, and like catch it, and it's always going to be bouncing and jumping around. And yeah, so I may have to go in. I can see it's not close to the line here. I may have to Dremel it a little bit. But hey, what can I say? It's going to go on. We're going to make it work. So let's finish cutting this. We'll go on over to the other vise, and we'll test fit this on the car. We'll get this thing jigged up, and we'll cut it through. There you go. That's pretty sexy. Now let's go try it out on the car. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, so all we got to do now is really just clean up that tube in there, and I want to just tack weld them so I can break them out if I have to. But it's going to make it a lot easier to make the other half that I have to laminate and fiberglass to the body. So I think that's pretty good. All right, I've got this stuff all ground down, and I've got the other side set up already. I was looking for my little tidbit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and tack weld it in place, right where just whereabouts I think it should go. I've got the other side set up already. I'm going to grab that bracket and show you what we got. So I made this up here, and I know it looks kind of odd, but this will be sitting off that tube, and this is just going to sit right on top like that. And I'll get a hole drilled in there, or weld a nut on the back side. And this is set up so I can, when this is against the fiberglass, when I get the body off finally, I can grind the area down, and then I'm just going to laminate right over all these. Anybody that's bought my How to Do a Fiberglass Body at Home DVD will see this and how this gets all done. So there you go. This is what we've got. So I'm going to go ahead and tack weld this in, and we'll make one of these up, and that'll take care of these mounts. I got middle mounts, I don't know what mounts you want to call them. And then I guess we'll move on to the piece back here. So that's it. Let's get this tack welded in there. now that all those pieces are made, I've got my tab welded back on the tube, and the little plate I'm going to weld to this is bolted to that. The thing I've got to do now is I've got to take this and I've got to bend it to shape. So the body kind of goes from here and it curves. So I've got to curve this a little bit. I may have to take this right in the middle and kind of give it a little bit of a tweak like that. So I'm going to mess with this a little bit, and it's going to be up and down over to the vise, tap, tap, tap with the hammer, bring it back. Ooh, I went too far, and that's what it's going to be. No need for you guys to watch me struggle. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to get this piece squared away so it fits at least somewhat decent, and we'll move on, and I'll show you, after I get this bracket welded up and get them bolted in, a little trick I'm going to do to keep these attached to the body. So when I take it off, I can grind the fiberglass down and then put these right back in the same exact position and then fiberglass them in. Now I've got this bent up pretty good, and she sits in there pretty nice, and you can see, it's got that slight little curve to it. There's this piece of the body where the interior tub wraps around, so that sits against it pretty good. I had to put this in the vise and kind of tweak it like this a little bit also. So it's like I said, it's back and forth. You tweak it this way, and I went too much, and you back a little bit. I went too far that way. So it's just like messing with it until you finally get it. So now this fits in there pretty good. I'll put it in there, and I'll get that tack welded together, because it's not a perfect 90 degree. It might be a little like this, or what have you. It's a little discombobulated. And then later on, just wanted to grab the other one I made already. After I get these tack welded, I'll get some little side gussets put in. These are just jagged on the edges. To make it look nice, I'll round it off, and I'm just like, no one's gonna see this stuff. Does it need to be really nice and dressed off? Ed Roth didn't do it. And maybe, this one comes to the edge here. I'll clean it up the best I can, so you don't jab your finger on it and rip the skin, have to go to the ER, and all that fun afternoon stuff. It always happens at 5 o'clock on Sunday. So I'll get these tack welded together. We'll get the sides on there, and we can button up this part of the project and move on to a different set of mounts. I guess we'll let that cool off, and we'll come back and grind off the roughness and harsh edges, and we'll bolt this bad boy in. All right, guys, now that these are all welded up, they're both a little different, they're both a little off, but they work. That's the most important part. And I got these surfaces ground flush, so they sit nice and flush on the plate that's already welded to that crossbar. And like I said, we're going to laminate over all these little offshoots here, and that should hold this thing right in place. So let's go ahead and bolt these things onto the car, onto the frame, and then we're going to have to get these to stay on the body. like I said, I can't fiberglass this, this stuff in with the body the way it is. I'd like to have the body upside down. Make it a lot easier for me to get at it, and I can do a really nice job that way. So what we're going to do is, we're going to just get these bolted up. We're going to drill holes 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 2, whatever we can get at. And we're going to put Glicos in there, or Glico. It's what they use in the aircraft industry. A lot of body shop guys use them, but it originated in the aircraft industry. A Glico rivet is kind of has a little piece that goes in and out on these two nubs. And when it goes this way, they close. You can put it in a hole, and then it goes back in, and it spreads them apart, and it opens up. They use them to put like the aircraft skin on a fuselage or a wing and stuff like that. So they work really good for stupid crap like this. So this way, if I drill the holes with it all bolted up and Glico it right to the fiberglass, when I take the body off, it's not going to move. And always go back in the same spot. I can take them off, grind all the fiberglass down, put it back on, and so on and so forth, and you get the idea. So let's go ahead and we'll bolt these up, and we'll do that. I want to take a minute and just show you what a Glico looks like. These are the pliers, and that there is the Glico. And I'll show you how it works. I hope the camera focuses on this. For you guys that don't know, you can see how that goes out. And when you release it, those nubs get wide, and it'll hold your piece or your panel in place. So you got that? See if I can't get it to focus better. There you go, see? So that's how it works. Very simple. But what a godsend to hanging quarter panels, doing patch panels, floor pans, and stuff like that. I'm addicted to Jolly Ranchers, sorry about that. And so yeah, let's put these in. Alright guys, hi. I'm kind of just holding the camera here in my hands because I want to be able to get in here and really give you a look. And you can see those Glicos are doing their job. And that's the right thing. It's holding it right in place. See if I can't come around maybe a little and show you between the springs and everything. And that should be good. Let's walk around to the other side. And there you go. So you can see like this here, the gray isn't sticking out that far in that one or this one. That's because the fiberglass is so thick, it's bound up. But at least, you know, it's a good guide, and she's not going to go anywhere. You got 3 points, she's not going to move. And when I take the body off, because it's really rough here, hear it? I got to grind this down like a big area, like this here, so I can do all that fiberglass work to trap this on the body. And, you know, underneath and everything. So I need the body off to do that. So this is as far as I'm going to be able to get for a little while on this here. So I can probably do some welding on here and everything, but I might as well just wait till I get it all off and I can do a nice job welding, and we can do the fiberglass work on this. So that's it. So I got this spot up here to do, and let me get the camera back on its stand. So really, that was pretty simple, wasn't it? Pretty painless. It's a real easy thing to do, and it's a far cry better than this. Let's not forget that there bracket. That's how Ed Roth had it done. Just those two giant bolts. Like I said, it looks like if you take a really good look, it looks like a piece of 2x4 or something there. Right there. He's got like these lag bolts and a piece of scrap steel. Yeah, hey, it works, you know. But I think our setup, German over-engineered, right? So that was that mount. Now let's discuss some of these other mounts, because I'll show you what Ed did. And I don't know if you can make it out, but this is a front mount right here. That's going to be that inner corner part of the tub where your feet go. So that's the underside next to the chassis rail. If you can make out that piece of wood right there. It's hard for me to do this in the camera, but that piece of wood right there, he just kind of laminated it to the body. Like I said, I got a flat piece of plywood, so that's pretty much, that's moot for me. I can just take that and trash it. And here's another view of it. This would be on the driver's side, right? Let me move so I can see. You can see right here, this comes off the fender area, and then this here is all up in the, where your feet go, and it's bolted up to the chassis. And here, this is looking along the frame rail from like laying down behind the rear axle looking forward. And you can see he's got right here, coming off where the running boards are to the chassis, a little something there. Now, on my underside of the body, I got pieces of wood. You can see in you can see through the glass. I got one there, and I got one there. There's a fiberglass is still kind of like a little transparent. So that gives me rigidity for the sides from flopping around. But the one that gets me now is up front, underneath the nose peak. This is how the front is mounted. I have to look at this to do it, so I'll try and show you. You can see there's a piece of wood goes right across here, like this here. It blocks the radiator, so you know this thing got hot. Come on. And that tiny radiator, it's like what? Maybe a couple inches bigger than a heater core. So that there, piece of wood, it's got a bolt there and probably a bolt on the other side. I think I might have to come up with something better than that. Although I may have to do that. Who knows? We'll see. And just as an FYI, this here, that's the gas tank. And the way it would work is there's a couple of hooks and a couple of eyelets on the tank, and you kind of reach up underneath, unhook it and drop it down, you fill it with gas and hook it back up. That's OSHA approved. So those are the other body mounts that Ed Roth did. So I'm making this up as I go along, like I had said. So I got those two, those are good. The body is really sitting on the plywood, on the frame rails. This is just to keep it from bouncing and shifting around. But let me see if I can't shift, the camera's pretty good where it is. But you can see here, now that I've got that bolted up, the flex I have. See that? So I want to get rid of that flex. So that's why I'm interested in doing something in the very back right here. So with the body on, there's not a lot of room to work. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it with the body on. And like I say, with this whole COVID-19 thing going on, having somebody come over to help me is going to be almost close to impossible. But I'll do as much as I can. You can always go back to it later, right? So that's it for me now. It's like almost 8 o'clock here. And I know I try to make this seamless, but I got a little bit of work done. That's done. We'll move on to another set of mounts next. Give me a sec. Oh, I should have wore a mask for that. There's so much rust in there from the dampness of the plaster, and you know, there's still chunks of plaster and stuff floating around on the chassis and whatnot. But I'm not going to show a whole lot of this because obviously it's tight quarters, and I can't really get in there. It's not that great to get in there with the camera, but I'll give you a general idea of what I'm going to do. Let me grab my piece over here, put my coffee cup down. So in my scrap pile, I found some angle iron, and I think a lot of great inventions probably start with strap steel and angle iron. This is probably 3/16 thick. It's what was there. The piece I had was just enough to do the other side and this side. If the camera shows it, the other side's in already. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this. I'm going to set it in here like this. And I'm going to weld that right to the chassis, and I'm going to drill 2 holes right through the wood, make a big plate like a washer, and I'm going to bolt this stuff together. Like I say, it's tight quarters. It's really not going to be worth me trying to get in there with the camera to show you what's going on. It's extremely simplistic. You guys have seen me do enough of this stuff to get the gist of it. So I'm going to get this done and over with, get this all set up. And when it's all done and welded in, I'll show you. You know what? I'll show you the pieces before I weld them in, and you'll get the general idea from that, I take it. And then we'll come back after it's welded and I'll show you. And then we're gonna move on to a different body mount someplace else because I already tried the other side and the flex is pretty much gone. But I'll show you. Let me get this squared away. We'll be right back. Okay, guys. So what I've got is these 2 pieces of steel and a couple of 5/16 coarse thread bolts. And I've taken the angle iron and I welded a couple of nuts on the back side. And this plate will go on this side. I'll get these started here. And what I have it planned to do, and I've done it on the other side, is like that. The plywood hanging down will get wedged between there, and this will just clamp it together. So that'll keep the wood, you know, from bouncing in the trail to go into a car show or something. It'll keep that hole from oblonging and getting worse. This will just sandwich the wood and hold it in place while the bolts are through there. You know, that's what I'm thinking at least. So I'm hoping how it's going to work. So that's it. So I got to put this in. I'm going to bolt it all up because I've already got the holes drilled in here. And then I'm going to weld this in place. So let me get this in here and mounted. And we'll start with the electric glue gun. All right, something I wanted to show you guys. Best laid plans of Rat Finks and Men is the wood support here that you can see is not like perfectly straight. It must have warped when I fiberglassed it in, or I used a warped piece of wood. What the hell do I know? So this was sitting about 3/8 of an inch up and off of the frame, so I couldn't weld it to the frame. So I had to put a slice down the middle here, you can see, and I gave her a little bit of a bend, so she's not a perfect 90-degree angle anymore. There you are. And these are the things you run into. Like I said, I'm going to wing this. And when you wing it and you're going along, you hit a couple speed bumps. No big deal. Took some metal out. I can just run a bead of weld right down that. I'll get at it, you know, I'll put a couple tack welds in there now because I can reach it. And I'm just tack welding this bracket to the frame because obviously, like I said, it's close quarters in there and I can't get in there that great with my MIG welder. So I'll have to weld it all later on. But let's get this installed and get it tack welded in. All right, well, it looks like she can come down just a skosh more, just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and take it back out, bend it a little bit more, and put it back in. And this is what it's all about. This is how we get things done. All right, that's that. I'm seeing dots. I got a couple tack welds. I got the bracket welded to the chassis. I put 3 tack welds across where I had to make that slice to give it that little bit of a wah. So that's that. Let me pop that camera off the tripod. We'll go on in here. I'll give you a good up close look. Let me grab my little flashlight in case I need it. All right, guys, I got my little flashlight. Little tiny mag light, works pretty good. And you can see there, if I get this camera in here, that's how I got it set up. You can see that right there, she's sandwiched in, and the couple tack welds on the slice I made, and the tack welds right on the chassis. And on the other side, you can see that bracket sitting there really nice. And I think I'll get it welded around later on, and that's pretty good. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Let's give it a little bit of a let's give it a test. All right, what do you think, huh? That's not going anywhere. It's not bouncing up and down. It's not moving. I do have a little bit of wonkiness this way, but there's no place to make a bracket for that, and Ed didn't have one either. But I think that's great. That's not going anywhere. It's not flexing. So that's good. We got 4 body mounts in the back. It's totally and completely over-engineered. So what do we do now? Well, you know what? I guess maybe we'll put the back wheels on, and we'll move up front. We'll get the front end higher up in the air, and we'll look at that and figure out how the heck we're going to make body mounts up there. All right, so I found a couple pieces of square tubing that I had used to make a jig for something else, so I cut all the bracketry and stuff off, and it's covered with some fiberglass and some gel coat, so I'm going to have to clean these up pretty good before I go welding on them. But whatever length this is, I got more than enough to go straight across. So what I think I'm going to do is I'll weld these two together to make one good length to get across from side to side. And then I can just make little pieces of strap on the ends. And on the sides here, I can laminate that in. So that'll be laminated from side to side. And I'll make a tab come off the bottom where a bolt can go through. And in the sides here, I don't know if you guys can see that good. But like I said, I'll grab that camera, I'll bring it in. In the sides, I'll put a bung that's drilled and tapped in the middle. And then I'll make a spacer to meet up with that tab off of these pieces of square tube. So let me grab the camera and I'll show you up close and personal. All right, so right here, you can see I got a piece of angle iron welded up to the side of the radiator, and there's just enough meat here on the side. Okay, now Ed Roth used the same bolt holes. Now I wonder if I could too, but it would require taking the radiator out and drilling yet another hole. Oh, there you are. It would require taking the radiator out and drilling another hole straight through here. And I got to get like some kind of something welded up in the back of this here. Or I could try and get a bung welded right on the edge here. And I think if I use a piece of 1/2 inch stock or something, and it's a 5/16 threaded for a bolt, that coming out to here under a tab with this piece of, let me grab it here. You know, a piece of square stock going straight across here like this. Maybe a little closer like that. There you go. I think that'll work fine. So that all being said, all I got to do is weld these together, get some scrap steel for the ends, and I got to do some machining and make up my my bungs. And after these are in, I can figure out how big my spacers have got to be. So heck, I guess let's go and start putting stuff together. All right, what I've come up with is some 3/4 inch solid stock. When I go to the steel place, there's a joint here called Metal by the Foot. I don't know if you've got one in your location. I know it's a franchise. But there's always little pieces like this, and it's like $1 and change. I pick them up and I throw them on my scrap bucket, or I leave them on the chip tray of my lathe. And they come in handy for stuff like this. And there's little ends and stuff. Nobody uses these, but I do. And I use them for little spacers and stuff. So what I've done is these are going to end up being my spacers to go from the chassis to the bracket under the nose. And I'm going to machine this down. I've already machined one side to get it flat. And I've taken my my caliper and I've already like made a little tick mark. If you see me do that on the taillight pegs, it's the same deal with the steel. I'm going to shoulder it down like this one. So now what I can do is I'm going to drill this and tap it. It'll be like a 5/16 18. And then this is a 3/4 inch OD here and a 1/2 inch here. So I'll drill a 1/2 inch hole into that frame piece. I'll sink this in and I'll buzz a weld around it, and that'll be that. And then when I go to put my bar on, the piece of the body comes down like this with the tab, and I can put this in as a spacer. And that should be good, in theory, right? It's all in the, once it's together, if it works, kind of a deal. So this is still hot, actually. It's killing my fingers. But I've got this one made, and we're going to chuck this one up and make this one now. All right, that's good. She's right down to the 1/2 inch on that shoulder piece right there. So what I've got to do now is make little pilot holes and drill straight through and then tap it. I don't think you really need to watch me do all this. You guys get the general picture, right? So let me make these, we'll get these done and over with, and we'll get back out there to the car and get these bad boys in. Alright guys, now I machined up my little pieces. I want to show them to you before I go weld them into the car or onto the car. So this is what it'll look like assembled. And on this end there'll be a little tab going up to this when I size it across the car like that. So it'll be like this with a little tab hanging down right here. And then that's how it's going to bolt up. And then this way, because of the, this is just going to be a spacer. So I'll have that spacer, it'll be like this gets welded to the car. This way I can just unbolt this, right? And then take that bolt out, and the spacer can come out, and then that tab will be like over here somewhere, and that gives me enough room to wiggle the body and shift it back and forth and stuff. So that's what I'm looking for. So we're gonna get these bungs I made welded up to those ears on the frame, and then we bolt all this up together with a tab on it, and then we can get that other 1/2 in. So let's get these all buzzed in now, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, now we're going to bolt our spacers in, and that'll determine how far out our bracket's going to go across the nose. And I'm going to measure across, and always remember, it usually says on the side of your tape measure. This one here says it right at the bottom. I don't know if anybody can pick that up, but that's 2 inches. So when you always take your tape measure and you put it in something, you kind of like going like this and you're trying to figure it out. It's always like, this is 6 inches right here, right? Plus 2, so that's 8. That's all you gotta, you can take this and you measure, you butt it up against something, and then there you go. There's a little garage hack for you. So let's see what we got here. We're gonna be at, let me see, looks like 27 5/8. So remember that, 27 5/8. Let's go cut that piece of steel we welded together. think that's too shabby. I'm gonna have to, because the body curves right there a little bit on these corners, I'm gonna have to curve it just a little bit so it fits in there nice. And I've still got to, I'm still gonna make up the little tabs. I gotta weld to the ends that I'm gonna use the Cleco to the body and then fiberglass in later on. So let me go ahead and put this on the belt sander, take care of the ends, and we'll make a little cardboard template of the size I need for the ends so I can fiberglass them. And we'll get over there to the bandsaw and cut those out. All right, I've got everything just kind of mocked up in place. A couple of C-clamps, balanced precariously. It's probably gonna fall and break my glasses. But I'll pop the camera off the tripod here and I'm gonna show you what I got and how it's all set up before I go welding it all in. And you can see I got my crossbar just sitting in there, and I got that C-clamp, vice grip C-clamp, holding that piece of steel in place that I'm going to fiberglass over. Now we'll get in here and I'll show you. You can see I got a little tab coming off. I got to weld that to the square stock, and then I got to weld the square stock to the piece of T-steel I got there. Same deal on the other side here. Let me kind of get myself out of the way and move the camera around. You can see really good here. You know, they got my spacer, the bolt, the tab, square stock, T-steel on the side. So I just gotta get in here and I gotta tack weld all this up. I'll unbolt it, I'll pull it out, and then we'll bolt it in for real, and then I'll Cleco these pieces to the side. Although I probably don't need to for this apparatus here, because these will be bolted in, and that'll hold it there. But when I take the body off, I want to be able to put it back in the same exact spot. So I'll drill a couple holes with Clecos. All right, now all I gotta do is get my Clecos and we'll drill the holes, put those in, and we'll take this thing out of here. All right, let's give this a test. And that's not moving. That's good stuff right there. Now it's probably a good time. The way I got those Clecos set up, I'll show you what they look like on the opposing side after they expand and grab. For you guys that aren't really familiar with how these things work. Let me try and do this with my camera here. Hang on. Alrighty, so there's the Cleco right there. Let me zoom in on it. Oh, I lost it. Where did it go? Right there. Alright, so we're going to try and operate it so you can see how it expands and then grabs. This one's pretty good right there. Where did it go? There it is. You can see that one there expanded good. And that's how they work. So, I'll try to move this one around. There you go. Where is it? There you are. Sorry about that. So you can see that. See there? And that's how those work. And they hold the panel in place. You can just pop it right out when you want. And there it is. All right, not too shabby, guys. Not too shabby at all. I got some spots where there's some MIG wire I'm gonna have to knock off, and these areas here where there's some welding slag, you can take a see there, see what I'm talking about. I want to get that all flush and clean so when the fiberglass lays over it, it lays nice and flat. But that's it, that's my bracket, my little tamburino, and like I said, I'm gonna give it a quick little cleanup with a grind and bolt it back in the car. That pretty much wraps it up, guys. Let's see. That's the right thing. No flippy floppy on the sides. I can't be happier than that. So I still have, I think, maybe where I had those bolts up on the floor in the plywood. I may like to go in there and do some fiberglass work and put like a little triangle from the pod to the plywood and still use the same hole and bolt it right to the chassis there. And that's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8 points bolted down. It's a little overkill for a car like this, but hey, I can get them in over there, so why not? It'll be really easy. It'll be a lot easier to drill the holes, the new holes in the chassis with the motor and stuff out. So I guess that pretty much wraps it up. And this is a quick episode, I know. You know, it's a COVID-19 episode because trying to work with scrap metal, trying to do something that needed to be done. Not a very exciting part of the project, but something that needs to get done nonetheless. So, yeah, that's it. I guess, I don't know what to do next. I have some photographs I took of the real Beatnik Bandit when I was in Detroit. And I was taking my phone, and I was setting the timer and going like this, like holding my phone down in there like that, you know, going like this, waiting for the timer to go up, trying to take a look at how Ed set up that apparatus that operates the moonstick. I gotta be honest, the pictures didn't come out that great, so I'm thinking, you know, I got something to go by, but I'm still thinking that this car is not gonna run and drive, and it's basically a static display or a 1-to-1 scale model kit. I think I'm just gonna make my moonstick go forward and backward. This way, if someone's sitting in the car, they can operate the brakes. So I'll make the brakes work, and that's probably gonna be about it. And that's about as exotic as I'm gonna go. But it'll be tough to do it with the body on. I can look in there, I can see in there. I got a good gauge and idea of where things need to be, but with the body on, I gotta make a piece of plate steel that has to bolt to the transmission somehow. That'd be a lot easier to do that with the body off, and like I said, when everybody's social distancing right now, I don't know, I gotta try to figure out, maybe if I unbolt the supercharger, I can muscle this body off by myself. And I hope I don't crack it or break it doing that, but I'm already, I'm 3 weeks into quarantine already. So, and I'm okay with social distancing. I'm in the garage by myself all the time. But sometimes I need a hand picking something like this up. So we'll get it all figured out. Don't you guys worry about nothing. But that's it. All the body mounts are done. I think next we're going to move on to that moonstick, unless I can think of something else that's a small quickie to do. And we still got to fiberglass all these things in, so we'll be seeing that down the road too. Hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I'd love to see what you guys are building. You can email me at spritzbyfritz@aol.com. And please, if you can and you can afford it, even for just $1 a month. That's 12 bucks a year. Become a Patreon member. That's patreon.com/Fritz by Fritz. You'll see there'll be a link flashing by here somewhere. And yeah, this way I can keep going on these projects. I can keep editing them. I got to update my computer software, you know, every so often, and you know, buy equipment, buy memory card chips for this camera. You know, it's just one of those things. But it's not so bad, but still. And I'll show you something over here. Let me go grab it quick. Here we are, you know, it's like April 9th, I think, 10th, 12th, something like that, during the COVID 2020 virus epidemic. And this is my next giveaway. It's an old ammo box. It's got the date of 52 on the top, so it might have been in Korea for all I know. But I'm not done painting it yet, but this will be a giveaway to one of my $5 tier members. So, hey, I'm not just begrudging and bogarting that stuff there. I'm trying to give back to everybody. You can win this bad boy, and it's pretty cool. You know, it's pretty clean. Not too bad. You could keep model car parts and nuts and bolts in here. Or if you really want to hide your packets of Ovaltine from your friends, this is the place to do it. So this will be done up. I still got to like finish up his arm and the pistol there. And I don't know, maybe I'll put something like guns and blammo on the other side and maybe lay some licks with flies or something. But I'm not done yet, but this will be given away by the end of the spring, I hope. I do this 2 or 3 times a year for Patreon members only. And also, if you're a Patreon member, for $5 or even for $1, I've been uploading my DVDs so people can watch them. So you guys that are in like Australia, the United Kingdom, Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium, I don't know where you are. But hey, if you don't want to pay the import taxes and stuff on the DVDs, you can just become a Patreon member. Watch them that way. So hey, I'm trying to help you guys out, you know? Trying to get my stuff to you guys so you can see it. So I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And get out in the garage and build something. Build something cool, build something crazy, spend time with the kids, and I'll see you guys next time.